Good evening. I would like to bring the October 19, 2016 meeting of the Interboro Board of School Directors to order. Ms. Caldwell, could we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Boyle?
Here.
Mr. Chavone?
Here.
Mr. McGarvey?
Here.
Mrs. DeBattista?
Here.
Mr. Evans?
Here.
Mr. Eckert?
Here.
Mr. Burns?
Here.
Mr. Harris?
Here.
Mr. Phelps?
Here. Mr. Burns, could we have the invocation and the pledge, please?
Heavenly Father, please hear our prayer. Bless all schools, colleges, and especially the Interboro School District. And grant to this board in their deliberations this evening the spirit of wisdom, truth, and knowledge. What is undertaken always be done in charity and in peace, and what we do might be for the benefit of others. All this we ask in your name. Amen. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. We will now hear our reports from our student representatives, Katie Receiver and Aretha Orth. Sorry about that. I'm learning that name still, sorry.
From the Kindergarten Academy, the troops at John Hines Environmental Center and Highland Orchards provided students with seasonal learning experience.
September 16th, Glen Olden held their back-to-school barbecue. Families came out and met the faculty and enjoyed delicious food. September 22nd was back-to-school night. Parents heard all about the upcoming events at Glen Olden and met the teachers.
From Prospect Park, they held their annual open house with an amazing attendance as hundreds of family members came out. Parents were also invited local representatives such as Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and Youth Club, and the Prospect Library. With the students who had positive and productive behavior, they were rewarded as an assembly to play Minute to Win It, and had a great surprise with the school mascot.
Norwood held the Ed Snyder Walk and Run Saturday, September 17th. It was well attended, and the money raised directly benefits the students and families of the district. Thank you to all who participated and to Lois Snyder for your dedication to the community and students.
For Tinicum Elementary, October 14th, we had the ribbon-cutting ceremony in honor of the playground. They also held their first Move Under the Stars. They hope will soon become a huge success. On October 21st, they will hold their first Buck Awards for 2016-17. They honor the respectful and responsible students.
In the past month, the high school held our Welcome Back Dance and Homecoming Dance. The Homecoming Dance sold out and had the highest attendance in years. Congratulations to the King and Queen, Kevin Reeder and Sage Favuzzi. September 22nd was Underclassmen Picture Day, thanks to Barksdale Studio. In honor of Veterans Day, Deer Lakes High School, the host of the 2016 state conference, are arranging to ship donations to the troops overseas at the time of the conference. Our student council will be collecting donations by November 9th and bringing them with us on the 10th. In the back, we have papers containing with the materials they will be collecting. Thank you in advance. It will all be going towards a great cause. This concludes our report.
Thank you, Ms. Receiver and Ms. Orth. Just so I don't forget, after the committee reports, you can be excused. Number 3 here, recognition, Ms. Riley.
Thank you. I'm going to turn that over to Ms. Claire.
Wellesley and Philadelphia, whom I represent, and
Thank you, Ms. Claire, and to these two fine young ladies. Next, we have Mr. Snyder.
All right, thank you for coming out this evening, school directors. Today I have the honor of awarding two different types of awards. So as everyone knows, the Pennsylvania Department of Education has the students take the Keystone test here in the state of Pennsylvania. Each year we like to recognize our graduating seniors who have the highest scaled score on each of those assessments. And what we do is we recognize them with this plaque that we have hanging out in our hallway next to our AP banners. And on this plaque, these students' names will forever be etched. So, for tonight, at this time, we will recognize first our bio highest score, which is Mr. Luke Mastaja. We would also like to recognize, for the second time this evening, Miss Caitlin Klotz, who had the highest score in literature. And last but not least, it was mentioned in the student report earlier, our homecoming king, Mr. Kevin Reeder, had the highest algebra score. All right, thank you guys. The next award that we are going to recognize is the Richard B. Greenhouse Award. Richard Greenhouse, for some people who do not know, was a guidance counselor here at the high school. He unfortunately passed away in the year 1992, and his family still likes to recognize a sophomore since he was the sophomore guidance counselor at the time. So what his family likes to do is each year they send a notification, and they like to get all the winners in school for like a luncheon at the end of the year, which hopefully we'll get together at the end of this year. But it recognizes the sophomore with the highest GPA at the end of their sophomore year. So for this year, last year as a sophomore, this year a junior is Jacqueline Dunleavy. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Congratulations to all of these outstanding students and their accomplishments. At this time, I'd like to bring up Dr. Ekman to introduce Mr. Pat Quinn.
Good evening. Reading early and often is so critical to future academic success for our students. We are proud that our students' capacity to read and the love of reading is cultivated during the school year and continues over the summer months, as exemplified by the many 1st through 8th grade students who came out to their community libraries to engage in the Summer Reading Challenge. Students were challenged to read good fit and/or high-interest books throughout this summer and submit their completed logs at their community libraries. This year, we were quite fortunate to receive a generous contribution from the Taylor Community Foundation to reward the community's readers each time they submitted a completed log. What could be a better reward for a reader than more books? On behalf of the Interboro community and public librarians, thank you to Taylor Community Foundation and Mr. Kurt Sled for your partnership and your encouragement of our developing readers. Tonight we will recognize all community schools for promoting this program this summer. One school has been identified as leading the way with the highest percentage of submitted student logs. With us tonight from State Representative Nick Miccarelli's office is Derek to present this award. This award is generously sponsored by Vidian Chrysler Dodge, who is represented tonight by parent and proud community member Lori Starazi. Mr. Pat Quinn of Prospect Park will present the awards and introduce our honorable attendees.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, School Board, for having us here tonight. Just my luck to follow 3 great public speakers. I'm not quite that great, but I'll try to do the best I can. First off, as Dr. Ekman has so brilliantly stated, we have a couple of folks here from our school libraries and plus our community libraries. And I want to introduce a couple people first. Kurt, please come up. People probably recognize Kurt. He's here every year presenting awards for our top students in the medical field. And Kurt this year stepped up to help us out by giving us a grant so we could get books for our kids. We did two things with those books. One was we gave books out to our kids during the summer who read during the summer program, and also we have a series of books here that we're going to present to our school libraries and community libraries during this event. Each library will get about 25 books. Some of the books are involved everything from health to sports, and many of the things that the community, Taylor Community Foundation pushes. So, Kurt, I just wanted to say thank you, and you want to have a word or two for us?
It's just a privilege to be a part of the Interboro community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kurt. I want to introduce the library folks from the various libraries. Norwood's Library Director, Eileen Baker. Eileen, come on up. Tinicum's Library Director, Carol Parsons, come on up. Glen Olden's Library Director couldn't make it tonight, but they have sent a board member, Marion Mortimer. Come on up, Marion. Prospect Parks board member couldn't make it either, and the Mayor Harris was going to be here, but he's stuck in traffic on the Blue Route, which we've, unless he's here. Oh, Mayor Harris, come on up. Just have to stand up here. So here I am. So what I'm going to do first is give out the books for these four groups. And I'm also going to call up two of our librarians from our school library, Lisa Salez. Lisa, come on up. Lisa represents both Glen Olden and, Tinicum and Glen Olden. Lisa, I'll just slide the box a little bit at the end of that. There's two sets of books. And then Meg, come on up. Meg represents Prospect and Norwood. I'm going to call Laurie up. Laurie, come on up. Laurie Strelazzi works for Vidian and has been gracious enough the last 3 years to get us gifts from Vidian to support our programs. Laurie and her husband are both heavily involved in Glen Olden. I can't say enough good things about them. So with that, I'm going to present checks for Norwood and Prospect, and Glen Olden and Tinicum. And with that said, I'm looking for my Chief of Staff, Derek. What we'll do is take the tag off, the secret tag. Real quick, this is the third year this trophy is being presented. Derek's Chief of Staff for State Representative Miccarelli, who's apparently lost somewhere on the highways, as usual. So, Derek?
As someone who read a lot growing up and got in trouble for reading under the covers when I should have been sleeping, I'm glad to be able to be here for Nick and present this award. I was joking with Principal Fanning from Tinicum School that every year we come out and his school keeps winning, so I hope that they continue to do well, but the other schools can get into the spirit of the competition and try to take it from them.
You want to read it out?
Oh, Tinicum School won.
Tim Fanning, Principal of Tinicum, and Steph Farmer, Vice Principal of Tinicum. Again, you folks just do a tremendous job. And also, with the gifts from Vidian, the Tinicum folks got a $100 gift towards books, and the other 3 schools got 50 from Vidian. So it's a win-win for everybody. One school wins, but all our communities win. So I think that's really important. Real quick, just a few more thank yous. There's a couple of folks at the school library who actually did a lot of work for us. Michelle Borkey, who pulled together the order from Scholastic that got the books for us, and let's see who else. Lori Perot, who works at Tinicum Library and is also a school district employee, helped me separate the books and put them into categories a couple months back. So again, these folks, we couldn't have done it without them. And finally, Bernadette Riley, if you, Bernadette, stand up for us. I just have to give you credit for, and Dr. Ekman, wherever you are, please come up here. And Rose, who works for Dr. Ekman, I have to say that without the support of the school district, we would not be able to pull this off. I use these numbers every year. Statistic after statistic shows that kids who read for fun in grade school excel in high school. I mean, it's not a guarantee, but they've done many, many studies on this. It's been proven over and over again. So what we're doing here, the collaboration between our school district and our libraries, is a great thing. And then just one last note before I end this. What we found, 43,000 minutes were read this summer. Last summer we did 39,000, so we are beating our record each year. Next year we're hoping for 1 million maybe. So we'll see what we can do. Look at a picture here. Bernadette, can you just join me for the picture? Thank you all. Thank you. I'm sorry, what? Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, I'm done.
All right. Pat, before you head back to your seat, I would like to thank you because you have been an amazing community member here in Interboro, and you have supported so many of these programs, the library program, the veterans program, and without you, a lot of this would not happen. So I would like to thank you for all your work, all your time, and all your dedication to making these things happen here in our district, these events. It's very critical for our kids, and I think our kids have increased their reading, and truly they have gained their interest and patriotism here in the district. And without you, I don't believe this would happen. So thank you very much, Pat. Really appreciate it.
At this time, I would just like to congratulate the students that achieved the awards that they got tonight from the board. Moving on, Mr. Burns, to number 4, public comments.
We have 3 people tonight. President Phelps. First is Tracy Mayer from Prospect Park.
Good evening. My name is Tracy Mayer from Prospect Park. I was late to last month's board meeting, so I wasn't able to comment, but I wanted to say something. In September, we launched Project Post-it. With the help of many Interboro community members and teachers, every middle school student's locker had an uplifting message on it for the first day of school. My son and I covered the message board at the high school with Post-its as well. I wanted to thank Principals Lambert, Fanning, Kelly, Mills, and Johnston for allowing this project into their schools and for also helping put the Post-its up, which was a very tedious task. I know that Mr. Wood also helped, so I want to give him a little shout out too. We received a lot of positive feedback from parents and are hopeful to do it again next year. Second, for this month is Bullying Awareness Month, and we're gearing up for the 4th annual Bullying Awareness Walk, which is going to be on Sunday. I wanted to thank Mrs. Riley and Marge for all of their help and hard work. We had a few new sponsors that I thought should get some public thanks. Nick Miccarelli is a sponsor this year. Dave White is sponsoring again. This is his 3rd year. The Fraternal Order of Police, I apologize, this is their 4th year. We also have a few new organizations that will be at the walk, and we're very grateful. The Heroes Alliance will be there again. I know they were a huge hit for the kids last year. So I hope we have a good turnout. I know we're going to have a good turnout. Weather's going to be beautiful. So I just want to thank Mrs. Riley, the school board, for, just some great years of a lot of fun, and, we'll continue it. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor, and thank you for all your work also. Next, Mr. Brown.
Next, we have Mr. Zerdy Doby from Leicester.
Zerdy Doby from Tinicum. Number 17, what is the compensation increases?
It averages out to 2.1 over 5 years.
2.1% over 5 years. And number 5.1. Last month, somebody was speaking at the podium, and you, President Phelps, said that there was that they had to speak on agenda items. Now, according to the sunshine laws of the state of Pennsylvania, a person can speak at a public meeting, and they should have speak on matters of concern, and you can set up guidelines, but you can't dictate to them what they can or cannot say. And for having one attorney sitting right next to you to sit there and allow you to do what you did was not correct. Plus, there's an
Mr.
additional
Doby,
attorney.
if I could just address, we did address that at our meeting. We went over the guidelines, and I was corrected. I was to be standard corrected on that.
Okay.
We'll
All right.
take
So
care
then,
of that. Thank you.
so that should be the end of that. Under executive sessions. Now, there's been a number of articles in the newspaper about Upper Darby failing to disclose. They get a lot of press. But I just want, this is for Interboro. September, you mentioned an executive session in your agenda, and October, and most of the months that you have your workshops and your public meetings, you mention an executive session, but you don't say what they're about. So this is from, again, the open sunshine laws under executive sessions. The reason for holding an executive session must be announced at a public meeting. The reason for holding an executive session must be specific. Now, there are 6 listings there as to what an executive session could be held for. So for you to hold an executive session, you should at least give us, it's item number 1, personnel, whatever it is, so that the people can have an idea just exactly what you're talking. You don't have to be specific unless it's litigation. Because there was a court case, and a trial court ruled that a public body, must spell out in connection with existing litigation the names of the parties, the docket number, and the court in which it is filed, and the general nature in which the litigation is about. So I think that would help people who are wondering what you're doing in an executive session, and I think that should be something that you should correct. Number 14.1. This, again, is the airport agreement. Has a folio number. Now, Tinicum Township passed this past Monday, they're authorizing their solicitor to enter in the stipulation for the tax assessment appeal for Cargo Westpac, and they also mentioned in their motion that upon the approval of the Interboro School District. So you're going to pass it tonight. But this is a parcel that is part of the baseline property, which is the fixed guarantee. It's listed in here as $9.7 million. So you're going to approve it for $10 million for the fair market value. So I don't know whether there's going to be a change in that fixed payment. Again, I raised this issue with Tinicum Township, that the distribution of that money, $1.86 million, should not be equal payments. It should be according to the tax rate. And so I want to find out, and if you would get an answer, so it could be addressed at a future meeting, whether the assessment, which is raising from $9.7 to $10 million, is going to affect the fixed payment. That's all. And so I'd like to get you to get answers to those questions at some future point in time.
Okay, we can do that for you, Mr. Joby. Thank you. Next, Mr. Burns.
Last person is Miss Phyllis Floyd from Prospect Park.
Sorry about that. Phyllis Floyd, 604 14th Avenue, Prospect Park. Going over the agenda last night, as well as just now, I strongly recommend 10.4 that the board consider tabling the motion, the first position getting appointed, because there was so much concern shown in the cost of filling that position for a person to get a pay increase double what they are presently making. I feel more information is needed to see specifically the savings, which I also brought up last evening. I asked to have the breakdown of the $1 million savings that was cut from the budget due to furloughs. The superintendent stated or implied positions that became vacant would not be replaced to save money if it was not required by law. I understand the PCAs, the special ed, the instructional assistants. That is required under law to have them. So, but if somebody retires or resigns in a support personnel position that doesn't have anything to do with instructional, that position can be eliminated. In fact, in the maintenance department, a position was eliminated to save money, and then there's a lot of shifting around that went on, and how it was originally presented is not that way now. So I really think the board should look into this a little bit deeper and table that motion. Then there's 13.4, no amount was put on the agenda, and I wanted to know, did the superintendent find out where the director of technology, or when the director of technology realized that the contract expired in August, and it's just now being presented for renewal? There's no amount of what that contract is for. Then number 17, when was this presented to be put on the agenda for tonight? Because last night it wasn't on the agenda and nothing was mentioned about it. And therefore the public didn't have the opportunity to even know what this is going on, what's going on with this. And in the past, the confidential secretaries, which has grown, and I'm to understand is not under the labor board, we don't have legitimate confidential secretaries under the labor board's description. So therefore, why they're getting possible different compensation, I don't know, but they always in the past had compensation the same as the regular secretaries. So I don't know what's going on with that. Is this a new group that has been interjected or created or whatever? Because it doesn't sound right to me. So my comments that I made, when will I, or the board for that matter, receive a detailed breakdown of the $1 million savings from the furloughs so that they could see just where it went and was there a savings, and has that savings already been spent. We started this school year with a $1 million deficit, maybe a little bit less, but pretty close to $1 million. The spending is still going on. I believe somewhere along the line it was suggested or recommended that there be a spending freeze. That's not happening. So what is this board, the superintendent, the director of finance, what are they doing? What is everybody doing to keep us from getting further? If we're already $1 million starting out the school year, how much more is it going to be by the time we get to the budget season and we only have not quite $4 million in the fund balance, and PSERS is increasing? Where's that money going to come from? You know, I don't see anything happening in a positive way to reduce spending. And I think it's time for people to take out their pencils. And I'm very appreciative of Mrs. Boyle, Mr. Harris, Mr. Burns, Mrs. DeBattista, and Mr. McGarvey for the questions, the suggestions, and the offering of help to try to get savings. That is what the whole board should be doing. And it's a shame that our administrators aren't doing it. We can't have beer pockets with champagne taste. And I'd appreciate answers to my questions.
Listening to every word you're saying, Mrs. Floyd.
Well, I'm standing here waiting and to listen to every word you're going to say.
Are you through?
Yeah, I had to hurry up and say it so that I wouldn't get cut off like I have been in the past.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry that that is your opinion, but my opinion is that our administration is doing a fantastic job, that this board is doing a fantastic job. Not just the individuals that you named, but this entire board, because we work as an entire board. So I'm sorry that's your opinion, but I think we're doing a great job. I'm sorry you don't feel that way.
Well, I came to that opinion by attending the GBO meeting, the work session, and the board meetings. But the GBO and the work session kind of tells the whole story when you see who interreacts and makes suggestions or asks questions. I know that that is a taboo to ask questions because, how dare anybody ask a question? And I'd like to personally thank Mrs. Mayer for her involvement in the community with the bully awareness and the friendship thing that she's doing this weekend, as well as the other, the Post-it thing that she did. That's what we need, is more people in the community doing positive things. And
I couldn't agree with you more, Mrs. Floyd.
And when it comes to the bullying, I hope there's no hypocrites that are going to participate when they're bullies themselves. Thank you.
Hope to see you there, Mrs. Floyd. Thank you. I said we hope to see you there. Thank you. Any other?
That was it, Mr. President.
All righty, thank you. And moving on to number 5, Mr. Burns.
Typically, so...
Are you a resident, sir? could you possibly wait until after the meeting and speak to our superintendent? And we'll... Yes. Give us one sec. I'll have our superintendent address it. Only because there's the rules of residency and this and that, but we will address your problems, sir. Okay, number 5, Mr. Burns.
Number 5 minutes, motion 5.1, that the following minutes of the regular meeting of the Interboro Board of School Directors held on September 21st, 2016 be approved.
Second. Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Number 6, Ms. Meehan, our solicitor report.
There is no solicitor's report at this time, Mr. President. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Meehan. Number 7, Mr. Burns.
Number 7, financial, 7.1, motion that the attached treasurer's report for the month ending September 30th, 2016 be approved.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Next motion, Mr. Burns.
7.2, motion that the fund disbursements in the amount $6,126,824.29 be approved.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Number 8, is there any correspondence? Mr.
No, President Phelps, no correspondence.
All right, thank you. Moving on to number 9, committee reports. 9.1, Mr. Evans.
Yes, the Finance Committee meeting was commenced at 6:02 in the p.m. on October 4th in the boardroom at the Administration Building. Mr. High School presented the committee with a preliminary financial statement current as of September 30th, 2016. He also provided an update on the status of capital projects. There were a few questions regarding the line item budget that Mr. High School had provided to the board. Mr. McGarvey liked the format and asked that the Finance Office continue to try to make it more user-friendly. Hard copies are available on board docs. Mr. McGarvey had a question about the NFL contribution, which is grant money that is earmarked for fitness equipment at the Kindergarten Academy. He also had a question regarding the phone system lease payment. This is the last annual lease payment for the voice-over IP system. Cell phones are under a different contract. Mrs. Haggerty stated that charges for the system lease only. The charges shown are for the system lease only, and the equipment maintenance costs are separate. The board was provided an update on the status of outstanding lunch bills, and the administration continues to aggressively pursue getting those paid down. Finance Committee was adjourned at 6:34 in the p.m., and that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. 9.2, Mr. Eckert, GBO.
GBO was held immediately after the Finance Committee. There were 2 items on the agenda that evening. There is a discussion about the multifunction printer proposal. That item has been tabled. It was also discussed last night. We are still investigating more options for that proposal. There was also a presentation for more hours for the occupational therapy support. That is on the agenda this evening as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eckert. 9.3, Mr. Burns, legislative update.
There's only 9 sessions this month due to the fact that we have the upcoming election. So the only thing I really want to highlight is something I mentioned last month was House Bill 530, which deals with charter reform. This is a dangerous waters for school districts. Charter schools are tax subsidized, and I mentioned 2 cases where the federal government sort of gave a quasi-status change to how charter schools really are classified, and they really labeled them as private entities. But nonetheless, at the state level, this bill could be really detrimental to school districts, particularly Interboro, where students can choose to go to alternative schooling, and taxpayers' money and budgeted funds have to come from the district and pay for those students. So this bill is getting some rapid movement, and it contains a lot of charter school expansion, which is classified under the bill under the the reforms section. So as this is moving, I will be following and giving you updates, but I urge everyone to pay attention, and if you have a strong opinion against charter school reform under House Bill 530, please contact your local representative, Nick Miccarelli.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. 9.4, Delaware County Community College, Mr. Chavone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next Wednesday, October 26th, the Delaware County Community College will be hosting their annual School Board Appreciation Dinner, and all board members are invited. We will also have our meeting following the dinner, and I will report back next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chavone. 9.5, the Delaware County Intermediate Unit, Mr. Harris.
Good evening, everyone. They always say the best for last. Here we go. The Delaware County Intermediate Unit Board of Directors met on October 5th, 2016. It was approved a contract between DCIU and Rose Tree Media School District to hold annual Reading Olympics. Also approved an agreement with the Garnet Valley School District to purchase 24 seats at a full-day professional development event. Approved for DCIU to provide Title III after-school tutoring and English language learners. Approved a contract with E+ Technologies to lease the Palo Alto firewall. Lastly, approved to contract with Western Psychological Services to provide 2-day training. For more information and news, go to dciu.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Okay, moving on, Mr. Burns, number 10.
Whereas the following matters are presented for action by the Interboro Board of School Directors, therefore it be number 10, personnel. A motion that the following personnel actions be approved, 10.1 through 10.15.
Second.
Motions have been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Comment, Mr. President?
Mr. Eckert.
10.4, it was stated that it is a increased rate of pay. It's also a change of position. It's a change. The individual is taking a new job, a new position, and that is why there is an increase in the salary, because it is a different position. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eckert. Any other comments? Hearing none. Oh, I'm sorry.
I would like to just amend. It's 10.1 through 10.16. I apologize. I missed that last one on the list.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Any other questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carry 9-0. Next motion, Mr. Burns.
Number 11, Office of Curriculum and Instruction. Motion that the following items be approved, 11.1 through 11.5.
Second.
Motions have been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carry 9-0. Next motion, Mr. Burns.
Number 12, Office of Special Education and Pupil Services. Motion that the following items be approved, 12.1 through 12.5.
Second.
Motions have been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Next motion, Mr. Burns.
Office of Technology. Motion that the following items be approved, 13.1 through 13.3.
Second.
Was that supposed to be 13.4?
No, yeah, I understand the question, but someone had asked that be pulled,
Okay.
so.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carry 9-0. Next motion, Mr. Burns.
13.4, that the Board of School Directors approve the attached agreement with the CCIU for Brandywine Virtual Academy from August 29, 2016 through June 8, 2017. Cost to be paid from district funds.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Comment.
Yes, Ms. DeBattista.
I apologize because I didn't, really this wasn't on my radar last evening, and I was just hoping that maybe Mrs. Riley would, I was hoping she'd be back. But I just had a couple questions about this particular motion and was hoping someone could answer them before I vote. I'm curious what this this particular service is being used for, how are we utilizing it? And I feel a little uncomfortable that there isn't, a set amount. I do know that there's a rate sheet as our support documentation, but I'm just not sure, could this exceed, how high could this number go? And, did we allot for this in our budget? So I'm just kind of, I'm not sure if there's anyone here that could answer those questions before we vote, or if anybody else has any concerns. I'm a little unclear what we're using this particular service for.
Thank you, Ms. DeBattista. Are there any other questions? Comments? Ms. Boyle?
Comment?
Ms. McGarvey, I'm sorry.
Yes, I was unsure of this as well. I spoke with Mrs. Riley prior to the meeting. This was something that was on board docs. Unfortunately, I didn't run across it, but I looked at the information prior to the meeting tonight. It is for the virtual academy, which is a virtual system that we have for students. It's an online sort of program. It's based on, there's some rates in that sheet based upon how many hours are performed for this service and how long the service goes throughout the year. So based upon the information I got, it looks like it has been budgeted. So that's my comment.
I'm going to withdraw my motion, and I'm going to make a motion that this be tabled. If there's a second, because it seems like there's questions, and I don't, looking at the timeline on the contract and knowing that their offer letter is from August, I don't think time is necessarily of the essence. But nonetheless, I don't know if the board has enough information. So I'll withdraw my motion. I'll make a motion to table.
Second.
Sorry.
Okay, the motion has been,
Mrs. Riley's back.
the motion has been moved to table and seconded. Are there any other questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, I just really wanted, I didn't necessarily, I just was hoping Mrs. Riley could just help me answer some questions. That's all I was really attempting to do, to help me feel more comfortable with it. And I just don't feel like those questions have been answered.
The solicitor hasn't reviewed the contract either. I think it's necessary.
Oh, is that what you said?
Well, the motion has been moved to be tabled, so we have to go ahead and vote on it and see if it's tabled or not. And then afterwards, if it's tabled, we'll go back to it. If it's not tabled, then hopefully Ms. Riley can address the questions for you, Ms. DeBattista. Hearing no other questions, the motion to table it, I think we would need a roll call for this, Ms. Caldwell.
Ms. Boyle?
Table it, yes.
Mr. Chavone?
Yes.
Mr. McGarvey?
Yes.
Mrs. DeBattista?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Eckert?
No.
Mr. Burns?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Phelps?
Yes. Motion carries 8-1, so we will come back to this next month, I assume. Okay, moving on to number 14, Mr. Burns.
Number 14, Office of Finance, motion that the following items be approved, 14.1 to 14.3.
Second.
Motions have been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Next motion, Mr. Burns.
Number 15, motion that the Board of School Directors approve the attached agreement from WorkNet Occupational Medicine for after-hours services. Costs are specified on the as-needed basis to be paid from district funds.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Next motion, Mr. Burns.
Number 16, motion that the Board of school directors approved Bernadette Riley to attend the AASA National Conference on Education on March 2nd to March 4th, 2017 in New Orleans at a cost of $685 to be paid from district funds.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Next motion, Mr. Burke.
Number 17, this is a roll call motion. Motion to approve the attached confidential secretary's compensation plan effective October 19th, 2016 through June 30th, 2019.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Comment.
Ms. DeBattista.
The online support, this was sent to us today. The agreement is dated July 1st, 2014 to June 30th, 2019. And it states those dates throughout the agreement. So I'm just not sure, is this effective as of July 1st, 2014?
Yes, it is, Ms. DeBattista. That's when their contract was up. We're just renewing it now, so it goes back to when the contract had finished up till present.
So the motion doesn't have to reflect the agreement?
Give me 1 second, Ms. DeBattista. Ms. DeBattista, could you repeat that question, please?
The agreement that is on our board docs starts July 1st, 2014 and ends June 30th, 2019. However, our motion reads that is effective October 19th, 2016 through June 30th, 2019. I just didn't know, I would like...
Thank you, Ms. DeBattista. Yes, we're going to need clarification. It is going to run from July 1st, 2014 to June 30th of 2019. That's the term of the contract. It is going into effect as of October 19th, 2016. But the term is from July 1st, 2014.
My comment is that, you know, I am in full agreement with, you know, what we set forth in this agreement. I just think it's unfortunate that I don't know how many board members had a chance to read through this document, but we are signing off. It is a 3-year agreement, and I don't know how many people have actually read it because of the timeline of where we received it. I, for one, can't stop everything in, you know, late in the day to read this before this meeting. So I'm very concerned with the timeline, us going from Tuesday to Wednesday and you know, signing off on agreement that I don't think some of us have read. So that's my concern.
Ms. DeBattista, it's just like any other contract that we work on, if it's not, you know, completed when it exactly expires, it moves on. That's why it is a 5-year contract. It's not a 3-year contract. It's just going into effect now for the 3 years, but it is a 5-year contract.
Comment?
Mr. Evans?
I did have a chance to look at the agreement, more than one opportunity. Of course, I'm retired, so I do have a little more time during the day. So I did have ample opportunity to look at it, and it does mirror the other secretaries' programs except for salaries. So the agreement is a mirror of theirs, and I have had more than one opportunity to look at it. So I'm satisfied.
Comment.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Ms. DeBattista?
The one thing in the agreement discusses summer hours. I believe that to be something that and I am all for summer hours, but I am under the understanding that is something we agree upon year to year. However, now we're putting that in the contract. So I didn't have opportunity. Did we have something in writing in this regard prior to today? So to look at it a few times, when did we have something concrete in writing to look at other than discussions?
As soon as we received it from Mr. Cassidy.
Which was today, correct?
Yes, we did read the final draft today, but as Mr. Criscola said, that this was a mirror image of the other secretaries. The only thing that was the benefits, the only thing that's different is the salaries.
Okay, so we're now putting summer hours in the contracts.
They always had summer language language in there.
It doesn't work for
Is there any other questions?
That's it. We should table this. We should table this so we can review the contracts.
All right, there's a motion to table. I will withdraw my motion of number 17. There's a motion.
Second.
Motion has been moved to be tabled. Are there any questions or comments from the board on this?
Comment?
Mr. Evans?
The phrasing regarding summer hours was to clarify their particular positions along with the other secretarial positions, and it's not an establishment of the 4 10-hour day. It's to match the other programs that go on in the school. I don't think it's any different from the other secretary's contract. It's just that those were always, one seemed to follow other activities and one seemed to follow the union contract. So I don't think it's any different than it ever was. And it's not that we're establishing 4 10-hour days like we do each season for summer work. So I don't have any problem with the contract as it stands.
Comment?
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Mr. Harris?
I think that we shouldn't be discussing the contract the way it reads here at this table. That's why it was tabled, so that we can review it. It's a simple situation that we should just take a little extra time to review the contract to make sure everyone's in agreement with the contract and not sit here and argue it over right now.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Any other questions, comments? Could we get a roll call, Ms. Caldwell, on this item?
Ms. Boyle?
Nah.
No?
It was your, wait, let's clarify.
Let's clarify what we're...
Right, because it was Ms. Boyle's motion to table.
Mr. Chavon?
No.
Mr. McGarvey?
No.
Mrs. DeBattista?
So I'm not clear what I'm voting on.
Yes is to table, no is to not.
You want to vote yes, you want to table it.
Apologize to all involved, but yes, I want to table this just for discussion.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Eckert?
No.
Mr. Burns?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Phelps?
No. It does not get tabled, carries 5 to 4, so the motion reads as follows.
Number 17, motion to approve the attached confidential secretary's compensation plan effective October 19, 2016 through June 30, 2019.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any more questions or comments?
Comment.
Yes, Mr. Burns.
You know, for the life of me, I just cannot wrap my mind around how you get a contract late in the day, a board member asks it to be discussed, there's further confusion, a board member motions to table it, and
we don't go back in and discuss this. It's just embarrassing.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Ms. Caldwell, can we get a roll call on this, please?
Ms. Boyle?
So just to be clear, on this.
No.
No, that was the
I'm
purpose of
very
the comment.
confused, I'm sorry. I asked for it to be tabled.
And it didn't pass.
Okay, all right.
But she voted no to table it, even though it was her.
No, I said no, because that's
Right.
what you were saying. Do we want to pass it? And then I said yes.
It was noted that way.
Yes,
Ms.
it
Boyle.
was, it was noted
It was noted that way, Ms. Boyle,
Which one?
that you
That
voted
you
yes
voted
to
to table it.
Oh, okay. Okay,
So now we're voting for
For or
agreement up to a pass the contract.
Pass the contract.
Yes.
No. Well, I can't pass it until I read it.
Mr. Chavone?
Yes.
Mr. McGarvey?
Yes.
Mrs. DeBattista?
Again, I apologize, but no.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Burns?
No.
Mr. Harris?
No.
Mr. Phelps?
Yes. Motion carries 5-4. Moving on to, is there any old business? Hearing none. Any new business? Comments from our superintendent?
Thank you, Mr. Phelps. I'm proud to announce to the district that our school performance profile information is available on our website. With the support of our school board and the dedicated hard work of our students, teachers, staff, and administrators, our district schools are meeting or exceeding the academic achievement and growth determined by the Pennsylvania Department of Education. If you visit our website and go to the curriculum and instruction link, and then under department, you'll see the school performance profile link. You can gain detailed information about the school performance profile and our state testing. This month, as Mrs. Mayor came up and spoke about, we are recognizing National Bullying Awareness Month. There are many building and district level activities that are taking place. On Sunday, October 23rd, we are having our 4th annual Bullying Awareness Walk. This is a joint effort with Community for Change and Prospect Park Borough. Last year, we had approximately 500 students and adults participate. We will be leaving the high school at approximately 9 a.m. and walking to Park Square, where we will be having activities, face painting, refreshments, music, and speakers. Everyone is welcome to attend, even if you were not able to register. I would like to thank in advance the many families, administrators, and our staff who have signed up and will be joining us at this wonderful event. And finally, I'd like to thank the art departments throughout the district for the amazing bullying awareness artwork that is here in front of us tonight. So thank you to them, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Riley. Are there any comments from the board?
Comment.
Yes, Mr. Chavone.
I just want to piggyback on what Mrs. Riley said. I want to congratulate everyone that helped improve our test scores. Although I do not believe one test score represents the great things our district does, it is great to see all the positive publicity that we are getting from the substantial growth that we achieved. So congratulations to the parents, communities, Superintendent Riley, all the administrators, teachers, and especially the students.
Thank you, Mr. Chavone.
Comment?
Mr. Howard?
Yes, I just want to let you know that I attended the technical schools, the Delaware County Technical Schools Tech Fest up at Springfield Mall this weekend. It was a great time. I had my fingerprints done. They wanted to braid my hair and do my nails, and I got to eat some food, and I did my blood pressure, and they said it was too high, and I said it's because I'm on the board. But it was a great opportunity to see the different programs and talk to the students and the instructors. So next time you see that it's up, make sure you get a chance to stop by there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, Mr.
Comment?
Mr. McGarvey?
Yes, going back to last month, I know we recognized law enforcement, police chiefs, and municipal leaders of the 4 boroughs that are part of the Interboro School District. I failed to make a comment. I kind of forgot about it, but you know, I see a lot of signs around about, you know, in Prospect and Tinicum, Ridley Township that hey, we support Ridley Township, we support Prospect Park, we support whatever borough or municipality you live in. Well, we should have more signs about, we support all police. If you look at what's going on around the country nowadays with police, there's a war against law enforcement. So let's get out there and support all police, not just the police in your town, because they all help each other out one day or another. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. McGarvey. Any other comments?
Comment?
Mr. Evans.
I just wanted to say that what you see here happen at the board meetings is not trivial, but is secondary to what's happening in our schools. A lot of positive things happening every single day, whether it's reading, testing, learning, sports, grants, receiving grants for research and investigation, and finding new and creative ways to bring financing into the schools. So there is a lot of positive anti-bullying, a lot of positive things going on all the time. There will always be a certain amount of drama surrounding democracy. And speaking of drama, tonight is the last debate for our presidential candidates. And all I want to say is I do appreciate the public input and feedback and participation. And whoever you're going to vote for, just vote, because democracy is not a spectator sport. It's participation. So make sure you get out and vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Any other comments?
Comment?
Ms. DeBattista?
Yes, I certainly don't want to leave here on a negative note because I'm very excited about a lot of the things that are going on in the district. We have a lot of things to be proud of, as far as, making the top 50 high school list is amazing. And we just received a huge grant from State Farm. So many things are happening. I'm very excited about the direction that we're headed, and any disagreements or hesitations that I may have, I just am the kind of person that just needs to feel comfortable and have my questions answered, and unfortunately we don't always have the time frame to do that, but I think we're moving in a great direction, so I hope that you're not leaving here thinking that I'm not positive about the direction that we're headed. So let's keep up the good work and keep that money rolling in, and keep those test scores up. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. DeBattista. Any other comments from the board?
Mr. President,
Mr. Eckert?
Mrs. Riley was, I thought she was very short in her comments about the test scores. I think she should have been bragging a little bit more, considering that Interboro jumped 5 places in the county. There are now high schools that many people in the county consider to be top of the line, and the average of our district scores are now above them. It just proves that from the superintendent all the way down with all of our employees, that they are doing an excellent job of promoting positive feedback and a positive environment for our students to learn. And I, for one, would like to say thank you for that, and for them to continue on with that effort. It has not gone unnoticed. The scores have shown it, and thank you very much. And thank you to the parents, too. You are a very strong part of your student and your child's life right here in their future. Please pay attention. Ask them what they're doing in school. If they say nothing, then you need to question them more, because there is plenty going on in every one of our buildings every day. So thank you.
Any other comments? I had a couple of things, but everybody said everything. So, the only thing I'd like to say is I wanted to congratulate Tom Spear and Joe Fisher for the hard work with their aquaphonics class. They're doing a great job. They got that grant. I'd like to thank Vicki Null. She is a resident of Prospect Park for helping us get that grant. She with State Farm. So that being said, I think on Tuesday, November 1st, 2016, a Finance Committee meeting with the GBO meeting immediately following will be held at 6 p.m. in the boardroom of the Administration Building. The next work session of the Interboro Board of School Directors will be conveyed in the boardroom of the Administration Building on Tuesday, November 15th, 2016, at 6:30 p.m. The next regularly monthly public meeting of the Interboro Board of School Directors will be convened in the auditorium of the high school on Wednesday, November 16th, 2016, at 7 p.m. And the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.